Hello and welcome to everyone that's tuned in to the American Ultra Stock channel. Thank you so much to all of the new subscribers, all of you guys that repeatedly decide to tune in to watch our videos. We thank you so much. And honestly, props to you for even looking up stuff about the USMNT. After what happened, what came down to the very last match of the group stage, we're going to have to play for our lives, like Ballistic said. And Braden, let's just talk a little bit about what both teams have done so far in the competition. Huge contrast, by the way. But going into this, how do you see both teams and how they prepared? If you want to mention briefly the friendlies or just the Copa America campaign of both, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think the friendlies matter too much anymore. But we know what the U.S. has done so far in Copa America. We beat Bolivia 2-0 pretty easily, but also a little uninspiring due to some of the chances we missed. And maybe that goal difference could come back to bite us depending on how results go on the final match day now. And then, of course, the Panama game. I think we all know what happened in that one. Absolute capitulation by Tim Weah, first place. Greg making some horrible changes, and props to Panama for capitalizing because, I mean, Canada today couldn't capitalize on Chile going down to 10 men. They still got the result, but I mean, they could have scored. Panama actually got the job done, got the win. So props to them, but I mean, we know it's a completely unacceptable result with or without the red card for the USMNT, and it puts us in a very dire situation where, like you said, we have to win basically against a team that has been honestly maybe the favorites to win Copa America. I think Argentina are probably still going to be the main favorites, but a lot of people have been tipping Uruguay to win, and I think rightly so. I mean, they've been in incredible form as of late. And even in the tournament, beating Panama 3-1, never really looking in doubt in that one, and then absolutely obliterating Bolivia, which is what we should have done. But they win 5-0 with a late onslaught again. It seems like they're scoring a lot of late goals, which means they're not letting up, which is a very bad sign for us because, in all honesty, we're probably going to need them to let up a little bit, but that seems very uncharacteristic for their manager, Marcelo Bielsa, and for the team in general. So we're now going into a game with arguably the best team in the tournament in a game that we absolutely have to win if we want to advance.
Yeah, and we have to win not only just to advance, but just the added factor of playing at home and the only competitive opportunity and test we're going to get before the huge World Cup we're going to have at home. It should be a catalyst for change in the sport in the country. So it all comes down to this. And I just want to say, I think that Uruguay is probably going to go a long way. And that matchup against Colombia somewhere, it's going to be the anticipated final. As you said, Argentina seems to be the favorites, but I think Uruguay and Colombia are both so impressive. And just so happens, we'll likely face both of them if we somehow make through tomorrow. Well, and then we will end up playing Colombia if we win. But in order to do that, we're going to have to come into this match making some adjustments. Tim Weah obviously getting a red card. So I'm going to leave it up to you, Braden. How would you field this one in terms of lineup? And what do you think Greg will do? Do you think your vision aligns with what he will do? Not tactically, as we know, but in terms of selecting the 11.
Yeah, well, we recommended some potential changes going into the game against Panama, but it was an unchanged team, the exact same starting 11 in both previous games. But now Greg's hand is forced. He has to make at least one change, potentially even two forced changes, because as we all know, Tim Weah is suspended. It came out for this that he will be suspended for 2 games. So if by some miracle we do advance, he'll be suspended for the quarterfinal as well, which is not necessarily great for our chances in that one either. And Matt Turner is day to day, so it's still up in the air whether he'll play. I am not convinced about Turner in general, but I'm especially not convinced about playing Turner, who could still potentially have some head problems. I just don't think it's a smart idea. So even if he is, I guess, ready to go, I think I'd still play Horvath. But if he's cleared, he's going to start. We know that already. So there's no point really diving into that. The back line should stay the same. I mean, if CCV somehow comes in, it's a disgrace, but I can't see him changing the back line at all. The midfield will probably stay the same. Realistically, it's just going to be a replacement for Weah. I think Greg will play Brendan Aronson. Just based on the past, and who he's favored in the right wing position, I think it is Brendan. Personally, what I would do, and I even said this when Weah was available before the tournament, put Pulisic on the right, play Haji right on the left-hand side. I think it gets the best out of Pulisic because that's where he's been playing all season and probably had the best season of his career playing there with AC Milan. And it gets the best out of Haji Wright as well, who on the left-hand side for Coventry was probably our second most informed attacker all season and potentially even one of our most informed players in general. I don't think there's much of a debate for that. And of course, keeping Balogun up top, who has finally found his form. And it really sucks for him because if the rest of the team had performed up to standards, this could be his signature tournament, his breakout, his statement for the USMNT. But unfortunately, it's all for naught. It seems we could be going home very easily despite the incredible efforts that he's shown. I think that midfield will stay the same, which is a little disappointing just because, I mean, Adams is a non-factor. He's started and came off at halftime in both games, so there's just no point. It's a waste of a sub. It's a waste of a starting spot. Play Johnny, even though he has shown some bad tendencies in recent games, I don't care. It's still a better decision to start Johnny, especially he's a much better passer than Adams. And we know Uruguay is going to press us relentlessly. That's what Bielsa does. So having a better passer at the 6, or even Musa there, I mean, he's not the greatest defender, but I think in terms of his ability on the ball, he's probably our best player breaking the press. So I think I would play him. I already recommended these changes against Panama, but just bring in Johnny and Musa for Adams and McKennie. I think McKennie hasn't necessarily been great recently, so he's due for a bit of a rest, especially. So those are the changes I would make. Predicted, I think it'll be unchanged besides Brendan Aronson coming in.
Wow, yeah, I think we have some disagreements, but I completely understand what you'd be going for. I think ideally, in an ideal world, I would do the same as you, put Haji on the left, Puli on the right. But in terms of who starts in the midfield, I really don't think that this game would suit Johnny. It all depends on who Uruguay decides to field. But El Loco Bielsa, that's his nickname, the Crazy. It's out of his nature to just give up on this game and go easy. He said that they haven't really had a big test. This is the game they were probably looking to build upon for later stages. So if that's the logic, I think that Johnny, back in his time in Brazil, as well as in La Liga, very possession-based league, if they play pressuring, I don't trust him. Just like it happened against Colombia, where he got dispossessed for the third goal, I think that it could happen in this game. So I would start Adams, even though it is kind of a non-factor. And I can't believe I'm saying this. I would actually go with the 3-man workhorse midfield. I would go with Musa and McKennie for this one. If Musa, McKennie, MMA midfield, and on one of the wings I'll put Gio Reyna, and the other one Pulisic. If that was the case, if he doesn't start with Haji Wright, which I think won't happen. I think that he will keep Haji on the bench. I think that common sense is just too much of a concept for Greg to grasp. And on the back line, I'm just coming into this game so pessimistic. So I think it will stay exactly the same. Hopefully CCV doesn't have to come on. And on the goalkeeping position, I'll keep Horvath because concussion protocol does vary league by league. I know that in the Brazilian league, it's 5 days after you have a concussion. I don't know if it was a confirmed concussion, what grade it was, but I would just keep Horvath. I'm not taking any chances when it comes to Matt Turner perhaps affecting his reflexes, and that could completely change the game, as we know. But then coming into all these lineups, all this talk, it's all hypothetical. I think it's fair to say we don't really know what Greg's going to do because that's the sort of manager he is, the repertoire he has, and how his convictions work. So to get his famous signature win, what is your prediction, Braden? Do you think we can actually do it? If you want to give one with your heart and your head and try to reason both, or do you stay strictly objective? What's your prediction for this game, which we'll both be at?
Well, my heart has been broken already, so there's no longer capable of making predictions. I'm going to go for 3-1 Uruguay. I debated saying more, to be honest. I think this could be a complete blowout. But I will say, I mean, we'll get on the score sheet at some point. Our attacking players are too good not to. I mean, we saw it against Germany even a while back in that friendly last fall. we didn't really have much going forward besides Pulisic, but his individual quality alone scored us a wonder goal. I think maybe a similar thing could happen, and the fact that Balogun is probably in the form of his life right now helps as well. One of them will get on the score sheet, but it's going to be a fairly comfortable day at the office for Uruguay, which is disappointing from their perspective because, like you said, this was their real test in the group stage, going ahead of a very difficult potential slate in the knockouts before potentially facing Argentina in the final. I mean, they could face both Colombia and Brazil on the way there. So it's not going to be an easy path ahead. They're going to want to play all their starters. They only made one sub in between the games, or one change to the starting lineup in between the two games, bringing out De Arrascaeta for De La Cruz. Which one of them will start? I don't think it will matter. They're both very, very, very good players at the 10, and the rest of the lineup will probably stay the same as well. I really can't see us winning this game, and I don't think it'll be particularly close either.
I think you were close to saying it. I will say De Arrascaeta, in my opinion, he's world class. People won't say it because he plays in Flamengo. He's world class. Watch him. He's insanely good. And again, maybe that's one of the reasons why I try to reason for an MMA midfield, which I don't even like. But coming into this, I'm kind of puzzled on what to pick. We are a little bit bipolar, and I think we tend to play a lot better against better opposition. Bielsa did say he's going to give Suarez more minutes. So whether that means he will start or not, I don't think that's likely. But regardless, very tough game. But I'm going to go with my heart right here. I'm going to go with the diluted version, and I'm going to back us to get a win. It's all on Pulisic and Balogun. I think individual talent is the only hope right here. I don't think that Greg's going to set up anything great. I don't think that the mentality is even there. I do trust Pulisic to pull something out of the bag. And Balogun, like you said, 2 matches, but it is the form of his life because tournament football, it all comes down to what you're doing there. And his form is great. You'll see his on the leaderboards for the Golden Boot. So I'm going to back us to get somehow a win right here. And I'm going to say 1-0. 1-0 win for the U.S. We get a goal somehow and try to defend. It will be very tough. Obviously, my head is not agreeing because there is a saying in South America, if Uruguay really was just a state, a provincia like they say, and they were part of Argentina, the Malvines wouldn't be English. They would have won the war for them. So that's a saying they have because the will to fight and the passion from Uruguayans is so big. I think it's really tough for us. I'm going with an impossible prediction right here. But we have to talk now about the aftermath because I think we're kind of foreshadowing what's likely to happen. We saw Wijnaldum come out with a tweet that's been shared everywhere. And Braden, your take on the aftermath right here. We already talked if we would rather see him go or not, but what do you think will happen? In both scenarios, what do you think is the aftermath on both? If we do go through, does he stay for sure and gets even more backing? If we get knocked out, do we still keep Greg? Not by our choice, but the USSF. Where do you see this one heading?
Well, first, let me just say I think it's kind of insane to predict a clean sheet against a team that has scored 8 goals so far when we have either an injured Turner or Horvath in goal and with the shaky defense. But yeah, I think Wijnaldum's tweet was very indicative of U.S. soccer, and I do trust him. I mean, he's a USMNT legend. He has a lot of connections. He could end up being wrong. It's very possible, but I don't see it. And I said this before the tournament as well. If you guys watched the preview that we did with 11 Yanks, I did say at the end of that video that I thought regardless, even if we did get grouped, even if we lost every game in the group, that Greg would still be the manager for 2026. And I'm sticking by what I thought there, not by choice, to be clear. This is not what I would do, but I don't see a world where USSF has the bravery to fire him and pick a new coach. I just don't see it. They're comfortable with mediocrity. I mean, they show this time and time again. They prioritize, for better or for worse, the U.S. women's national team over the USMNT, probably due to their success in the past that we admittedly haven't had. And it doesn't really suit them to make a change. It doesn't make sense, especially now that their only real option that they interviewed, Jesse Marsh, is now gone. He's with Canada, and he's doing better with a worse team than Berhalter is with us. So I think that's very indicative, even though we all know Jesse Marsh is not the greatest of managers. So imagine how bad Berhalter must be in comparison. But yeah, if we do win, Berhalter's the coach until he dies. He's getting a lifetime contract, and then if he has any kids, I'm not sure if he does, but they're going to be the coach after that, and it's going to stay in the family tree for eternity. if we somehow beat Uruguay, but that won't happen. I'm going to be realistic here. That won't happen. We will lose. We will get knocked out in the groups. We will become the first ever Copa America host to go out in the group stage, which is a complete and utter embarrassment and a joke. And it'll be even more so when Greg stays until 2026, and we waste the biggest couple years in U.S. soccer history with a Copa America and a World Cup on home soil, and we underwhelm at both of them.
And like you said, it's such a, I don't think people even grasp how big of a failure that is, because even nations such as Paraguay, they knocked out Brazil when they were playing Copa America at home. Everyone seems to gather that fan support, and this is not on the fans. I see some pundits kind of trying to scapegoat that side and say that the fans haven't been out there. It's inexcusable, and I hope that the pressure mounts onto Greg. And on that, on the aftermath, I will say maybe Wijnaldum's trying to do us a solid. Maybe he has some inside information. That is what USSF is, their plan is. Him letting out that tweet, well, he's been vocal against USSF in the past as well. I'm pretty sure he's not the most loved figure there. But letting out that tweet to see what the repercussion would be, how the fans react, maybe helps to add some pressure on USSF. So, hey, I don't know. At this point, I think we are facing a little bit of a balance of, do we try to get through and just get knocked out in the quarterfinals and give him a pass for 26? Well, not us, but USSF. Or do we just rather lose, have a humiliation at home, but in turn get rid of Berhalter? Maybe it's not going to be either one of those, but let us know in the comments below what you guys think. Coming into this match, are you feeling optimistic at all? I don't think that. I saw some people here and there saying that they are. Of course, I'm deluded. I put this crazy prediction, which you can tell by my tone and by my face. I don't really believe it will happen. Just trying to back the boys. Let us know. Where do you see USSF heading on from here? Do we fire him? Do we not? Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, share it with your friends. And if by any chance you are at the game and you recognize us, please say hi. It will be a nice little recognition. We'll come and say hi. And thank you for all of your support. To all of you guys, thank you so much. And we'll see you next time. Let's hope for the best.